They say life throws curveballs when you least expect them. Well, mine wasn't just a curveball, it was a full-blown wrecking ball. And it slammed into me at the worst possible moment. Let me set the stage. My name is Ryan, and I was 39 years old, married to Ashley for 11 years. We lived in a quiet neighborhood in Boulder, Colorado, with our two wonderful kids, Olivia, who had just turned 9, and Liam, a lively 7-year-old. Life wasn't perfect, we had our ups and downs, but it was stable. Or so I thought. Then, like a cruel joke from the universe, I got sick. Really sick. The doctor said I had to take time off work and focus on my recovery. It sounded simple enough, but when you're the main breadwinner and the bills don't stop coming, taking it easy feels like a luxury you can't afford. At first, Ashley seemed supportive. She brought me homemade smoothies, helped with the kids, and assured me we'd get through this together. But cracks in her patience appeared quickly. Within weeks, her tone changed. Instead of asking how I was feeling, she started mentioning the unpaid bills. A month later, she began working late nights. By the second month, she wasn't even pretending anymore. One evening, I noticed her slipping out of the house in a dress I hadn't seen in years, paired with high heels. She was even wearing perfume, the kind she used to save for special occasions. "Where are you going?" I asked, trying to sound casual, though my stomach was already twisting. "Out," she replied without meeting my eyes. "Out where? Why do you care, Ryan? You're too busy being sick to notice anything else." And just like that, she was gone. I didn't need a private investigator to figure out what was happening. Ashley wasn't working late, she was spending time with Tyler, her personal trainer. The guy looked like he belonged on the cover of a fitness magazine. He had arms like tree trunks and a personality about as deep as a puddle. Fast forward another month, and Ashley made her exit official. She left me and the kids with nothing but a hastily written note on the fridge that read, "I need space. Don't try to contact me." Space. She could have just joined NASA. At first, I thought I'd feel relief. No more fights, no more passive-aggressive comments about how I wasn't pulling my weight. But relief never came. Instead, it was just me, two kids who didn't understand why their mom wasn't coming home, and a mountain of bills that felt impossible to climb. The first crack in my resolve came when Olivia asked me, "Daddy, when's Mommy coming back?" Her wide brown eyes were filled with a mix of confusion and hope. I froze. "What do you even say to that?" "Sweetheart," I began, my voice cracking, "Mommy just needs some time to figure things out." She tilted her head, clearly not satisfied with the answer. "Can't she figure things out here? We have lots of space." Liam, ever the optimist, chimed in. "Yeah. We could help her. Like when you were sick, and we made breakfast for you. Remember?" I remembered. Their breakfast had been a soggy mess of cereal and orange juice, but it was made with love. I ruffled Liam's hair, forcing a smile. "I wish, buddy. I really do." That night, after putting them to bed, I sat in the dimly lit living room, staring at Ashley's note still stuck to the fridge. Space. The word mocked me, echoing in my head. Meanwhile, the bills piled up, the mortgage company started calling, and I couldn't help but feel like I was sinking in quicksand. And then, as if life hadn't thrown enough at me, the divorce papers arrived. No call. No text. Just a knock at the door and a smug courier handing me an envelope with Ashley's lawyer's name on it. She didn't even have the decency to tell me herself. I flipped through the papers in disbelief. She wasn't just leaving me, she was leaving everything. She wanted no custody, no house, no responsibility, just freedom. For a moment, I felt a flicker of relief. At least I wouldn't have to fight for my kids. But that relief was quickly replaced by anger. How could she walk away so easily? From me, from Olivia, from Liam? I signed the papers without a second thought and sent them back. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. Between doctor's appointments, chemo sessions, and working part-time when I could manage, I barely had the energy to keep things afloat. But here's the thing about rock bottom, it gives you nowhere to go but up. One day, my best friend, Brandon, came over with pizza and a laptop. He wasn't the type to sugarcoat things, but he also wasn't going to let me wallow in self-pity. "Ryan," he said, sliding the laptop across the table, "you need a new gig. Something remote. I pulled a few listings for you, tech consulting, flexible hours, decent pay. What do you think?" I sighed, feeling overwhelmed. "Brandon, I don't even know where to start." "Start by not giving up," he said, his tone firm. "You're the smartest guy I know. You can do this." With his help, I landed a remote consulting job within a month. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and allowed me to be there for Olivia and Liam. "Man, you're like a phoenix," Brandon said one night after I told him about the job. "Yeah, except instead of rising from ashes, I'm crawling out of debt," I joked. We both laughed, and for the first time in months, it felt genuine. As time went on, things slowly started to stabilize. Olivia and Liam were thriving at school, and I was finally catching my breath. By the following summer, I'd even saved enough to take the kids on a trip to the Rocky Mountains, a memory we desperately needed. But just when I thought the chaos was behind me, life threw another curveball. One Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but I assumed it was a delivery. Instead, I opened the door to find Ashley standing there, holding a suitcase and very visibly pregnant. "Ryan," she began, her voice trembling, "can we talk?" I stared at Ashley, completely stunned. She looked nothing like the woman who had walked out on me and the kids a year ago. Her once perfectly styled hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she had dark circles under her eyes. The pregnancy was obvious, her belly looked about 7 months along. "Ryan," she repeated, her voice softer this time. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to see, but I need your help." I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "Help? You need my help?" I couldn't stop the bitter laugh that escaped. "After everything you did, you have the nerve to come here now and ask for help?" "I don't have anywhere else to go," she admitted, her eyes welling up with tears. "Tyler's gone. He left when he found out I was pregnant." "Wow," I said, shaking my head. "The guy who convinced you to leave your family turned out to be unreliable." "Shocking." Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. "Almost. I know I made mistakes," she said, her voice trembling. "But I'm here to make things right. For you, for Olivia and Liam." I laughed again, louder this time. "Make things right? Ashley, you abandoned us. You didn't just walk away from me, you walked away from your kids. And now you think you can waltz back in here because you need something?" Her tears were falling freely now, but I wasn't going to let that distract me. "You don't get to come back just because life didn't work out the way you planned. My kids deserve better than that. I deserve better than that. I'm their mother," she said, her voice breaking. "Don't they deserve to have me in their lives?" "Deserve?" I snapped, my anger finally boiling over. "You haven't earned the right to say that. You chose your trainer over your family. You didn't even fight for custody. You wanted space, remember? Well, congratulations, you've got all the space you could ever need." I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. Olivia and Liam didn't need to see me like this. "Now, if you'll excuse me," I said, stepping back inside, "I have a life to live. One that doesn't include you." Before she could say anything else, I shut the door. Through the window, I watched as she stood there for a moment, her shoulders slumped. Then she picked up her suitcase and slowly walked back down the driveway. I should have felt triumphant. But all I felt was tired. That night, I couldn't shake the conversation. As much as I hated what Ashley had done, there was a tiny voice in the back of my mind that wouldn't shut up. What if she really has nowhere else to go? What if this affects Olivia and Liam? I didn't have time to dwell on it. The next day, life threw yet another wrench into the mix. The next day, everything seemed fine, at first. I made pancakes for the kids. Olivia declared me the best chef in the world, and Liam managed to spill syrup all over his shirt. It was a typical Sunday morning, chaotic but comforting. Then, during lunch, Olivia dropped a bombshell. "Daddy, guess what? Mommy came to see us at Grandma and Grandpa's last week." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. "What did you just say?" I asked, trying to keep my tone calm. "Mommy came to see us," she repeated innocently, her eyes lighting up. "She played games with us and said she missed us a lot." My heart sank. "When was this?" "Last weekend," she said, taking another bite of her sandwich. "Grandma and Grandpa said it was a surprise, and they told us not to tell you." Of course, they did. Liam, oblivious to the tension, added, "She looked really tired. I think she misses us, too." I managed a weak smile. "Hey, why don't you two go pick out a movie for us to watch later? I'll clean up in here." As soon as they left the kitchen, I grabbed my phone and dialed my mom. She answered after the second ring. "Hi, Ryan," she said, her tone overly cheerful. "What's this about Ashley visiting the kids at your house?" I asked, skipping the pleasantries. There was a pause, the kind of pause that makes your stomach churn. "She's their mother," my mom finally said, her voice defensive. "They have a right to see her." I clenched my jaw. "Mom, we've been over this. She lost that right when she walked out on them. And you knew that." "She's trying to make amends," my dad chimed in from the background. "Don't you think the kids deserve to have their mother in their lives?" "What they deserve is stability," I shot back. "What they don't need is someone who abandoned them waltzing back in whenever she feels like it. And they definitely don't need you sneaking around behind my back to make it happen." "Ryan, she's struggling," my mom said, her tone softening. "She's pregnant, alone, and scared. She needs help." "She made her bed," I said firmly. "She can lie in it. But if you ever let her see my kids without my permission again, you won't be seeing them either. Do I make myself clear?" There was silence on the other end of the line. "Ryan, don't do this," my dad said. "We were only trying to help." "You want to help?" I snapped. "Stay out of it. This isn't your decision to make." Without waiting for a response, I hung up. That night, I sat in the living room, replaying the conversation in my head. Anger burned in my chest, but underneath it was something else, hurt. My own parents had gone behind my back, thinking they knew what was best for my kids. After putting Olivia and Liam to bed, I made another phone call. This time, it was to my lawyer, Scott. "We need to tighten the restraining order," I told him. "Against Ashley?" "And my parents," I added. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Your parents, too?" "Yes," I said firmly. "They've been letting her see my kids without my knowledge. I'm done playing nice." "Understood," Scott said. "I'll get started on the paperwork." 3 days later, the fallout began. My mom showed up at my house uninvited, her face a mix of hurt and anger. "Ryan, how could you do this to us?" she demanded the moment I opened the door. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me so the kids wouldn't hear. "Do what, Mom? Protect my kids from someone who abandoned them?" "She's their mother," she shot back, clutching her purse like it held all the answers. She deserves a second chance. She's had plenty of chances, I said coldly. And she's blown every single one. My priority is Olivia and Liam, not Ashley's feelings. And not yours. You're being unreasonable, my dad said, walking up from the car. We're their grandparents. We have a right to see them. Not if you're going to undermine me at every turn, I countered. You went behind my back, and now you're dealing with the consequences. Ryan, this isn't fair, my mom pleaded. We were just trying to help. I shook my head. You want to help? Respect my boundaries. Because if you pull something like this again, you won't see Olivia and Liam at all. My mom's face crumpled, but I didn't waver. I turned and went back inside, leaving them standing on the porch. A week later, we were in court. Ashley arrived looking like she was auditioning for a daytime drama, her hair neatly styled, her outfit carefully chosen to make her seem sympathetic. But Scott wasn't fooled. He tore through her arguments like a hot knife through butter. Every excuse she made for leaving, every justification for her sudden reappearance, he countered with cold, hard facts. The restraining order held, and the judge upheld my full custody of the kids. When it was over, Ashley's expression was a mix of rage and defeat. As for my parents, they didn't even show up. Maybe they realized they couldn't win, or maybe they just couldn't face me. Either way, it was over, for now. That evening, I sat on the couch with Olivia and Liam, watching their favorite movie. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt at peace. But peace has a way of being short-lived. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the school. "Hi, this is Ms. Harper, Liam's teacher," the voice on the other end said. "Is everything okay?" I asked, instantly on edge. "Yes, Liam's fine," she assured me. "But there's been a situation." My stomach dropped. "What kind of situation?" "Well, a woman claiming to be his mother showed up at school today," she said carefully. "Our principal, Mr. Johnson, recognized her and immediately intervened. She didn't get near Liam, but we thought you should know." I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. "Thank you for letting me know. I'll handle it." That evening, I sat Olivia and Liam down for a talk. "Kids, we need to go over something important," I began. Liam tilted his head, clearly curious. "Is it about Mommy?" I nodded. "If Mommy tries to see you at school or anywhere else, you need to tell an adult right away. Okay? Why can't we see her?" Olivia asked, her eyes clouding with confusion. "She said she misses us." I took a deep breath. Sometimes, people make choices that hurt others, even if they don't mean to. Right now, Mommy isn't able to make good choices for you. My job is to keep you safe, and that means making sure she doesn't hurt you again." They both nodded, though I could see the sadness in Olivia's eyes. Liam seemed less bothered, already distracted by his Legos. The following morning, I called Scott again. "She's escalating," I said. "Showing up at school now? We need to tighten the restrictions." Scott agreed and filed an emergency motion to reinforce the restraining order. It didn't take long for the court to approve it. I also called Mr. Johnson, the school principal, to thank him for stepping in. "No problem, Mr. Davis," he said. "We're here to support you and your family." Despite the support, I couldn't shake the unease. I started dropping the kids off myself every morning, staying until I was sure they were safely in class. Around this time, Sophie started noticing how tense I'd become. "Ryan, you've been quiet lately," she said one evening as we sat on the porch. "What's going on?" I hesitated, not wanting to burden her. But if there was one thing I'd learned, it was that keeping things bottled up never helped. "Ashley showed up at the school," I admitted. Sophie's eyes widened. "Oh my God. Are the kids okay? Yeah, they're fine. She didn't get near them, I said quickly. But it's like she's trying to push boundaries, and I can't let my guard down. Sophie reached over and took my hand. You're doing everything you can to protect them, Ryan. And you're not alone in this. I'm here, too. Her words settled the storm in my chest, if only for a moment. A week later, I got an unexpected visitor, my dad. Ryan, he began, standing on the porch with his hands stuffed in his jacket pockets. I know you're upset with us, but I wanted to tell you something. I folded my arms, not ready to let him off the hook. What is it? Ashley's leaving town, he said. I blinked, caught off guard. What do you mean? She's moving to Texas. Said she needs a fresh start, he explained. I thought you'd want to know. Part of me felt relieved, but the other part was skeptical. Ashley had never been one to follow through on her plans. And what do you expect me to do with this information? I asked. He sighed. I just thought you'd want some peace of mind. I nodded, though I wasn't sure I believed it. For a while, things quieted down. Sophie and I grew closer, and the kids began to thrive again. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end of the story. Months passed, and life started to settle into a comfortable rhythm. Sophie and her son, Mason, had become a regular part of our lives. Olivia adored Sophie, often asking her to help with homework or braid her hair. Liam and Mason had become inseparable, their bond growing stronger with every playdate. Sophie and I decided to take the kids on a road trip to the Great Sand Dunes National Park. It was a much-needed getaway, a chance to create happy memories and leave the stress of the past year behind. We packed the car with snacks, games, and enough sunscreen to survive a solar flare. The kids were buzzing with excitement, their laughter filling the car as we made the 3-hour drive. When we arrived, the dunes stretched out before us like golden waves. The kids raced ahead, their tiny footprints marking the sand as they climbed the steep slopes. Sophie and I followed, carrying water bottles and laughing at their endless energy. By the end of the day, we were exhausted but happy. Sitting around a small campfire that evening, Sophie leaned over and whispered, "This is what it's all about, isn't it? These moments?" "Yeah," I said, watching the kids roast marshmallows under the starlit sky. "It really is. But peace has a way of being temporary." The very next week, I got a phone call that sent a chill down my spine. It was from Jessica, an old friend of Ashley's. "Ryan, I wasn't sure if I should call, but Ashley's been talking about coming back to Boulder," she said hesitantly. I gripped the phone tighter. "What? Why?" "She says she wants to try and reconnect with the kids. She keeps saying she's changed, but I don't know. I thought you should know." My mind raced. I'd finally started to rebuild a stable life for Olivia and Liam, and the thought of Ashley returning to disrupt it all was infuriating. "Thanks for letting me know, Jessica," I said. "I'll handle it." That evening, I told Sophie about the call. "She can't seriously think she can just waltz back in after all this time," Sophie said, her voice filled with disbelief. "She probably thinks that because I've kept her away, I'll eventually give in," I said, running a hand through my hair. "But she's wrong. I'm not letting her anywhere near the kids." Sophie nodded, her expression determined. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together." Her support gave me strength, but I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that Ashley wouldn't give up so easily. 2 weeks later, my fears were confirmed. It was a Friday afternoon, and I had just picked the kids up from school. We were driving home when Olivia suddenly gasped. "Daddy, look," she said, pointing out the window. I followed her gaze and saw Ashley standing on the corner near our neighborhood. She was holding a small sign that read, "I just want to see my kids." My jaw clenched. Liam leaned forward in his seat, his voice filled with curiosity. "Why is Mommy there?" "Don't worry about it, buddy," I said, keeping my voice calm as I turned the car down another street to avoid her. When we got home, I called Scott immediately. "She's escalating again," I told him. "She's standing outside our neighborhood now, trying to make a scene." "Did she try to approach you or the kids?" Scott asked. "No, but she doesn't need to. Just seeing her upset them," I said. "What can we do?" Scott sighed. "Unfortunately, unless she violates the restraining order by directly contacting you or the kids, there's not much we can do legally. But I can draft a formal warning to her and her lawyer. Sometimes that's enough to scare people off." "Do it," I said without hesitation. The warning seemed to work, for a while. Ashley disappeared from sight, and life returned to normal. Then, one evening, I got another call from Jessica. "Ryan, I hate to bother you again, but Ashley's been asking about where Olivia and Liam go to school," she said nervously. "I think she might be planning something." My stomach twisted. I thanked Jessica and hung up, immediately dialing Scott again. "It's time to take this to the next level," I said. Scott agreed, filing for an extension to the restraining order that would prevent Ashley from coming within a mile of the kids' school, our home, or any of their regular activities. That weekend, Sophie suggested we take the kids to the Boulder Creek Festival to take their minds off everything. The festival was packed with food trucks, live music, and carnival games. Olivia and Liam loved it, their laughter cutting through the noise like music to my ears. At one point, Liam tugged on my hand, pulling me toward a booth with a giant stuffed dinosaur as the prize. "Daddy, I want to win that," he said, his eyes wide with excitement. I handed the booth worker a few dollars and gave it my best shot. 3 tries later, Liam was proudly hugging his new stuffed dinosaur, declaring it his best friend forever. Sophie leaned over, smiling. "You know, you're not just a good dad, you're an amazing dad." I smiled back, feeling a rare moment of peace. But as the night went on, I couldn't shake the feeling that Ashley was still out there, watching, waiting for her next move. Another month passed, and life seemed to settle again. Olivia and Liam were thriving at school, Sophie and Mason were seamlessly fitting into our lives, and the legal pressure on Ashley seemed to keep her at bay. But peace, as I had learned, was fragile. One day, I got a call from Mr. Johnson, the principal at Liam and Olivia's school. "Mr. Davis," he began, his voice unusually serious, "we had an incident today involving your ex-wife." My heart sank. "What happened?" "She was seen in the parking lot during dismissal, waiting near the edge of the school grounds. A teacher recognized her and alerted me. I approached her, reminded her of the restraining order, and she left before the police arrived." I gripped the phone tightly, anger bubbling just below the surface. "Thank you for letting me know. I'll take care of it." After hanging up, I immediately called Scott. "She's stalking the school now," I said, pacing the living room. Scott didn't seem surprised. "It's not uncommon in cases like this. We'll file for a direct violation of the restraining order. It should be enough to get her officially warned, or even detained if she tries this again." That evening, I sat Olivia and Liam down for another talk. "Kids," I said gently, "you might see Mommy again, but I want you to remember something. If she shows up anywhere, you need to tell an adult right away, your teacher, Mr. Johnson, or me. Understand?" Olivia nodded, her face serious. "Okay, Daddy." Liam frowned. "Why can't we just talk to her? She looked really sad when we saw her last time." My chest tightened at his words. I hated that they had to process all of this, but I knew protecting them came first. Because sometimes, people need to work through their problems before they can be a part of your life, I explained. And right now, Mommy isn't ready for that. Liam seemed to accept the answer, but the conversation left me feeling drained. The next morning, Sophie noticed how quiet I was as we got the kids ready for school. "Ryan," she said softly, touching my arm. "What's going on?" I hesitated, then told her about Ashley's appearance at the school. "She's not going to stop, is she?" Sophie asked, her brow furrowed with worry. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm not letting her disrupt our lives again." "You're doing everything you can," Sophie said, her voice steady. "And no matter what happens, I'm here for you, for all of you." Her words were exactly what I needed to hear. A few weeks later, just when I thought things were calming down, Ashley pulled her boldest stunt yet. It was a sunny Saturday morning. Sophie and I were in the backyard, watching the kids play. Olivia was trying to teach Mason how to hula hoop, while Liam raced around with his stuffed dinosaur in tow. Then, out of nowhere, the doorbell rang. I glanced at Sophie, who gave me a cautious look. "Expecting anyone?" she asked. "No," I said, heading for the door. When I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. Ashley was standing there, holding a large envelope and looking more disheveled than ever. "Ryan," she said, her voice shaky. "Please, just hear me out." I stepped outside, closing the door behind me so the kids wouldn't see her. "What are you doing here? You're violating the restraining order." She held up the envelope. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I want to leave this for Olivia and Liam. It's letters for them, for when they're older. I know I can't be in their lives right now, but I need them to know I care." Her words caught me off guard. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Was this another manipulation, or was she genuinely trying to do something selfless for once? "Leave it on the porch," I said finally. "And then leave." She nodded, placing the envelope on the step. "Thank you, Ryan. I mean that." Without another word, she turned and walked back to her car. Later that evening, I opened the envelope. Inside were 2 handwritten letters, one addressed to Olivia and the other to Liam. They were surprisingly heartfelt, filled with apologies and memories Ashley cherished. Part of me wanted to throw them away, to shield my kids from any more confusion or pain. But another part of me knew it wasn't my decision to make. I placed the letters in a safe place, deciding that when Olivia and Liam were old enough to understand, I would let them read them, if they wanted to. In the weeks that followed, Ashley seemed to finally disappear from our lives. There were no more unexpected visits, no phone calls, no sightings at the school. It was as if she had finally accepted the boundaries I'd set. Meanwhile, life with Sophie grew brighter every day. Olivia and Liam adored her, and Mason had started calling me Mr. R, which always made us laugh. One evening, as we sat on the porch after the kids were asleep, Sophie reached for my hand. "You know," she said, smiling softly, "I think we've found our happy ending." I looked at her, the woman who had brought light back into my life, and nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I think we have."